Oh, pretty cool. And I see Andy's here. We have a lot of familiar faces. Zoo has brought a whole bunch of people over for him. He and Sonnen and Tim had a great space this morning. I was listening for a long time, and then I got a phone call trying to get a another type of build another relationship with a business that I use and blah blah blah. They need help, you know. Everybody can't be everywhere all at once doing everything, and they're ready to find some help. And we'll see if we can come to some kind of agreement on that. And it's always fun to negotiate, and especially when you know that you can bring something to the table. And I'm trying to get Andy over here to get on the co-host, and of course it's X, so it doesn't seem to be really uh, too kind on helping me get there. Are you there yet, Andy? No, you're not. Hmm.
How you doing today, John?
Who's speaking?
It's Spur slash Keck.
Oh, can you hold on for a minute, please, until I get Andy as the co-host, and then we can have a talk. But until that happens, I am going to. Okay, here, maybe this will work. Let's see if we can get that going. Then I've got to do my little. We have a sponsor, and I've got some music going that I'm going to try to see if I can weave into this. We all have heard the weave now because oh, excellent, excellent, great. So I can stop with all of this carousel. How are you doing, Andy?
I'm good. I've had a quite busy day. Not anything April Fool's wise, but just real work and lots of things. When it crosses over the end of the quarter into the next quarter, sometimes there are license issues, permissions issues, change issues. There's all kinds of things that typically happen. So just a normal first day of the second quarter kind of thing. I did see that there was some interesting news today. Uh, some really kind of, it every day there is something new and unique going on, and it is really, I mean, if you join our call every day, you're going to get more information. If you miss a day, you might need to go back and record it or listen to the recording because new things happen every day. And we talk about more than just how AI works, but we talk about AI, how it works, how you can apply it, how people are applying it to their business. So it's more than just, hey, there's a new model, hey, there's a new thing, hey, there's a new blah 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 and blah blah blah, or somebody did something or did performance better or whatever. uh, I, I I saw a bunch of agent things happen. Right now, Robert Scoble's in uh, a demo at Stanford University where they're showing how they're applying AI and essentially adaptive learning to physical robots, and then how those things are going to be applied directly to Optimus and other robots and all the things across everywhere. Things are moving at a rapid speed. My future son-in-law works programming the industrial supply lines or industrial manufacturing lines. So you're going to core apples, or you're going to, you know, create pillows, or you're going to, you take all this raw material and then you run the raw materials through the machines, and then at the end you end up with a product. And those he programs all the little switches and triggers and timings and whatever, and then when something breaks or whatever, or isn't as efficient as it should be, or they have an update, he goes out and actually helps and does all of those things. So that, to me, that building, that assembly line, that manufacturing line, that whatever delivery line, that's a robot, or a whole bunch of robots operating together. And so when you say robot, a Tesla's a robot, a Rivian car is a robot. These kind of things are robots. Your Roomba is a robot. these are all things that are going to use and benefit from the artificial intelligence side of what we're talking about. Typically, we talk about agents and code, which is the LLM in front of that compute problem. But make no mistake, that compute side and how it applies to the Amazon factory, your routing for delivery, for how many things you need to put into the factory or how many things you need to put into the warehouse for this area to do just-in-time inventory management. All of that stuff is going to be amplified by AI and all of this kind of computing thing. So it's, I think it's cool. I love how it applies to everything.
Absolutely. I'm going to get into a little housekeeping here. So the first thing I'm going to do is tell everybody to please follow Andy and myself, join Andy and my newsletter, as well as follow the other speakers here, get to know everybody here. That's part of this. This is a networking space. Share, please repost the space, quote it. And I'm about to get into a little housekeeping because we're getting the music going. So that means it's time for our ad, Andy, because we are sponsored by Virtual Synergy Inc. And I would love to hear if the music's at the proper level. It kind of
Not yet.
lulls you into this.
No, not hearing it. Just your voice.
Oh,
Remember
really?
wide spectrum mode, John. Remember wide spectrum mode. If you swipe on your phone and then you would change it from
Now do
isolation.
you hear it? So probably too loud for me, actually, at this point. They need a mixing. Let me just get down to serious brass tacks. They need a mixing board here because this is really kind of retarded. Me trying to do this with the speaker. But okay, let's get to it. So, Virtual Synergy Inc. What if you could free up hours in your day without sacrificing productivity? Successful entrepreneurs know the secret. They delegate. If you're looking for an employee to handle your administration, there's no better employee than Virtual Assistant from Virtual Synergy Inc. Virtual Synergy Inc. connects you with skilled human virtual assistants who handle your administrative work, emails, and scheduling so you can focus on what truly matters. That's growing your business. No hiring stress, no overhead, just expert support on demand. Stop managing tasks and start leading your business with Virtual Synergy Inc. Okay, that was that. Took care of that business. So we got a lot of news stories, Andy. I don't know. I sometimes I'm just having too much fun. Today, the big news story that I saw that caught my eye was one thing. I went down the rabbit hole with Grok to find out exactly it. I said, so Grok, uh can you tell me about my followers? And Grok said, yes, of course, I'll tell you about your followers. So I said, so how many, do a report on what they're talking about today. And then it said, I have 12 followers. And so then I did a screenshot and I shared it. And I said, you can only give me up to, you only can give me 5% synthetic data on this. And we went down the rabbit hole and I wrote a post about it today. And basically, these LLMs are telling you that I was like, can I create a reliable business using you? And that was kind of a question that a 98 to 99% accuracy. So we're still having those issues. There was on Zoo and Sonen's space earlier today, they were discussing reliability. I'd love to hear if there's anybody there that was through that. There was really, they bring in a really great crowd. And that really know what they're talking about. More, much, I'm not a developer, I'm a marketing guy, so I only have a limited amount of knowledge when it comes to that type of stuff. But that's a big question we're still dealing with. So today there's this new product that came out that says it can create agents autonomously generate agents just using text prompts. So I signed up for it. It's got you get a free 100 uses out of it, and then you're going to have to pay. It's mainly geared towards enterprise size companies. I'm going to put the link in the purple pill. It's called Emergence AI. I think the crowd here will get a kick out of it. And, it'd be interesting to see what it can do and hear use cases. And if people, 100 free tasks is a pretty good amount before you get charged for it. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see what it can do. Do you have any thoughts on that, Andy?
Well, I love AI agents. I love the idea that you're stacking kind of a sequential set of activities. And then I also have some other crazy news, like AI, like OpenAI just raised $40 billion. They said they planned to make it, then they did. SoftBank is trying to acquire ARM or SoftBank owns ARM Holdings, and they tried to acquire AlphaWare, which is what they think is crucial technology for building its own processors. So now we have a chip war. We have more just unfreaking believable amount of money being thrown at these things. It is literally a space race, arms race. You got more guys talking about different, this company with chips and these people are doing chips. TSMC is, the whole Taiwan thing with China and their chips and, and then some stuff from yesterday popped up, but the whole, it's all being driven. It's being driven by, if you have the chips to do the processing that operate within the libraries that they have, the CUDA libraries specifically. So a GPU operating within the CUDA libraries can produce the highest amount of accessible compute in the AI space. And so you can see companies are throwing money at both sides, the hardware side, making chips, and the software side, just acquiring chips, building data centers, and then running their training models. I expect the speed and frequency of training models to just start to accelerate, where we're going to get think about it. Grok 2 went from Grok 2 to Grok 3 and it was in early March or late February. Now they're just about to release 4. You've got the back end model for the images in OpenAI went from Flux to their own version, and everybody hated it, so they didn't use it. So they retrained an entire model, plus all of the kind of verbal text kind of activities, not the coding side, but the verbal text ideas, plus the picture image, and all in OpenAI, which came out with 4.0, 2-3 days ago. DeepSeek hasn't done a release yet. GEMS came out. I mean, keeping track is going to be it's a merry-go-round that's going to turn into a whirlwind. It's crazy, the speed and frequency of the releases and the capabilities. And there will be ultimately 2 or 3 models that win the majority of work. And then there will be a giant, huge list of ancillary kind of specialized trained models. And I do think, if I just could put on my crazy hat for the future, I think that if you can take a local model and train it on your industry and your data set and your company and your vertical, that you will ultimately win. So if you're an oncologist and you deal with cancers, you pick one specific type of cancer and train your model around every single thing to do with all of the permutations of those particular cancers. That model will win, not one model that does everything medical. That'll be like a general practitioner, but you'll end up with, all of these little tiny individual models, one for MS and one for, ocular degeneration and one for this and one for that. I think that That is where the future is going to be. I really do.
Absolutely, and I've started to build libraries on subjects that are in my profession, and it's something that I think that everybody should, to get ready for that. And of course, I'm a statistics marketing kind of nerd, and if you go to the Purple Pill, I just yesterday, and I recreated it just now, did a Google Trends of the current LLMs that people use. So Chat GDP, Claude, Grok, Gemini, Manus, and the search results on Chat GDP has done a great job in marketing. Everybody knows Chat GDP, and their search queries are off the charts compared to the rest of them. And I don't use Chat GDP anymore, just because I find the results just not to be as upscale or as quality as the other ones. Yet they, in terms of usage, or people that are Googling it, are just more than 10x, it looks like, than to their nearest competitor, which is, it's just that the way things go. It's funny, the biggest search results for Chat GDP seem to be coming from China. Then you have Peru and Bolivia. So China's got a 80% search interest, where Bolivia has an 82, Peru has a 93, Brazil has a 40, the United States has a 22. Interesting. Um, when you get to Claude, Claude has 100 search interest in China, and a 9 search interest in the United States. And you know what? One thing I was reading the other day was that in China, they're teaching their kids in grade school or elementary school how to prompt, and they're putting a lot of emphasis on their population understanding LLMs and how to use them. I imagine that's probably not the case here in the States. So Grok, they got 100% interest, search interest. Brazil 6, United States 10, and Gemini, it's China's got a 30, United States got a 7. Brazil and Peru are really high on all of these interests, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, I think that it's it's important to get your country kind of organized in this endeavor, because it's going to change the world so much. But we all who've been working with AI have experienced when you first start it, and you're like, oh wow, this is crazy, and then you start to get into it, and then you go to your profession or whatever your interests are, and then you go to another level, and it's a progressive thing to really kind of get to the point where you're like, I understand what this can do. Oh, I understand what this LM could do compared to this other LLM. And you start to drill down on it a bit. But can you imagine a kid with their mind, doing that? Like when you see kids with smartphones going through TikTok or whatever, some mindless brain rot thing. But if they were kind of guided in a way where they took advantage of this, it could change the trajectory of all kinds of things. Your family has a lot of education. Now I see that Kyle's here. So Kyle, what would you like to add to the conversation? And I really appreciate if some other people could come up to the mic and share with us your thoughts on the subject. Andy, before I go to Kyle, what are your thoughts? Do you want to go into the news a little more? Do you want to continue down this tangent? You tell me. I can just keep on talking. I'm a talking machine.
Personally, I love the news. I think people come every day to hear kind of the pulse of what's going on. So you don't have to go deep. Just hit the top 3 or 4 news items that, I mentioned a couple. I know you've got a couple. You posted them in the Purple Pill. Let's go ahead and hit those verbally. Make sure that we talk about them. If somebody wants to add their,
So
feel
this
free.
is so this is very interesting. Amazon build agentic systems with Crew AI and Amazon Bedrock. This is something I haven't tried. AWS, in collaboration with Crew AI, showcased how to build multi-agent systems using Crew AI's framework and Amazon Bedrock for enterprise scalability. Is that something that you've heard about at all, Andy?
Yeah, I've heard about Bedrock. We talked about it a couple months ago when they increased their big data center. They said that was one of the main reasons they were doing it was to increase the capability in that area. But again, I kind of feel like there is a core AI product. And now we've gone to there's two primary architectures, the Llama architecture, the Qwen architecture. Those two things are driving the rest of the model creation. Then the models are being trained to do a specific kind of task, more coding development task, more language development task, more logic reasoning kind of tasks, and a few other things. But those are primarily where we're at. And then as the the pilot of the ship, right? As the pilot, you kind of say, I want to go over there and do this thing, or I want to see if I can take this to go accomplish this task, or what sequence of things do I need to add to do that? It's it's amazing. And the point is, Amazon is already using a quote every time. Okay, by the way, everybody, every time you hear the word algorithm, those are all being replaced with this kind of compute model where it's doing some reasoning to give you the best possible next step results. And it's predictive in its next step. And as it continues to predict, it then evaluates whether it predicted correctly or not. And then it learns on itself. So your behavior is what it is always attempting to observe and provide a better result to. So if you say, I'm looking for a new water bottle, and you go on Amazon and you click on water bottles and it gives you 6 or 7 of them, and you only choose the pink ones, it's going to start to create a profile of your session and give you some information back on that. This is what Amazon is using this stuff for.
I don't want to step in, but based off what you just said, AR John, you said that 80% of ChatGPT queries are coming from China. Is that similar to what you said on your statistics? Because if that's so, think about what I said yesterday, and think about how they only have 2,048 H800 GPUs, which are less advanced than ours. And what if they are using my method described yesterday to train DeepSeek based off of our compute?
I don't know. So I'm getting this information from Google Trends. Google Trends is not very specific about how it comes up with these numbers. It has a terminology that it calls what is this? Search interest. So it says it has an 80% search interest. Really, the only thing with Google Trends you can really tell is if you compare one metric to the next, but it doesn't really connect to volume. It doesn't tell you what the volume is. So it says the search interest for ChatGPT over the past 12 months is 80, and the search interest for the United States for ChatGPT is 22. So that just tells me that it's 4 times more search interest, whatever the definition of that is, China compared to the United States. That's what I get from it.
I have a theory, and if we firewall block ChatGPT, I think DeepSeek will sink.
Thomas has arrived. Our troll is here. Go for it, Thomas. You get 10 seconds. Go.
Oh dear.
Yeah,
Have you looked at
Thomas,
my code and seen all the agents that I can use
is this
to move?
an OCD thing, Thomas, or are you just? I kind of see like you're just in the basement and is it Tourette's? What's going on?
It's quantum mechanics, my friend. Yeah, it's Modelo Tourette's, aren't but what it is, mate, is I'm trying to deal with a million different things whilst fucking the matrix up. Yeah, because the index. The index when you create qubits. If you create 8 qubits, one indexes to 0, doesn't it? So
Wait,
by creating more qubits, you're actually
qubits isn't binary. Qubits is a measure of compute as it
You are
applies
zero,
to
my friend.
tokens within the framework of AI.
Sam Altman's shitting it. Ha! Mondello.
All right, you're gone.
Thanks,
Okay.
Thomas. That was when I was running MySpace, and I'm on a vacation right now. I love the beach. I'm in Florida. I'm in Palm Beach. It's my first time here. But when I was running a space with R, and we write about tech, that's why I come to these John and Andy sessions, is so I can go back to the partner I work with on projects and tell him all about all the cool stuff I learned in John and Andy space. But you have to train the trolls to be funny, you know? So you give them a little time, you let them get it out, and then you got to get them funnier each time. You know, it's like a goal. You know, until Thomas is funny, we do not stop.
Bros, can I speak again on how we need to layer 7 filter ChatGPT and sync
No,
DeepSeek?
no, you're getting Clyde. You're getting close to Thomas territory, so you got to wait till you're asked to call. Wait for the hand, because otherwise we're gonna. I feel like Thomas is kind of an employee. I hope that he would kind of stay in the room, and then when he's needed, we call on him. But you're absolutely right, Star. It's got that we need an acceleration in funny, and I think that he's a little self-conscious, maybe a little self-aware, and he's got to get to that point where he's just in bliss mode. Bliss troll, the blissful troll that isn't even aware of himself. I think that's when things start really getting fun. So we'll look for that. And if anybody wants to, if they have any trolls in their back pocket or their basement, you see, here he is. He's being talked about. So he's sitting in the back room waiting to be called up. But Thomas, you gotta bring it next time we call you up. So sorry to interrupt everybody. Continue, Star.
Yeah. Hey, John. I try not to repeat myself too much because like you said, it's new news all the time. I was interested in what Andy was saying when when the AI is focusing on your behavior, because I notice when you're behaving normally or setting up smiley faces or sad faces when it doesn't get things right, it will say, "Oh, you're onto something brilliant," until you point out that you have some new evidence that actually what you're doing is completely useless, and then you tell the AI that it's just been confirming a bunch of stuff only because I've been behaving normally or like a normal person. It's been telling me my ideas are so great and I'm so talented, which goes back to the topic of AI apologizes, but is it really sorry? And I was curious about the no code AI agents are here. This is why I came in, because I got my Hugging Face set up. I've been making for the reason I haven't been coming as well, I only missed one episode. I was at 100. So the reason I missed 101 is because I started a new hobby with AI. I downloaded Roblox Studio and I've gotten pretty good at it. And I've gotten good at having Grok prompt. And the one thing I did notice, and this is maybe something people don't even know until they start using AI a lot, is that it will tell you you're running out of space after like 100 questions. Why? Because it has to query everything you do and it has to retrace, and the LLM gets bigger and slower. So I was thinking about, like, what if you had a conversation with somebody and AIs are like the ultimate introvert because they really do have a social battery. You're speaking to the AI, and then all of a sudden the AI tells you, like, imagine you're speaking to a person, and then after the 50th question, they start slow speech, and it starts breaking, and it starts telling you it doesn't want to answer your questions. So I think this is a funny part of AI right now. We're currently living in this LLM world where you have to start a new prompt when you want to when you want to work on your idea. I think that's an interesting topic. And I also had one question for John. John, are you the one solid John, and the rest of the people on Earth are 1 billionth of you? And then I was curious because I do have this feeling like sometimes that everybody is like a fraction of myself, like 1/8 billionth, like 0.000000125 or whatever. So I was curious how that main character, how that works. Are you the only whole you, and we are the fractions of you, or are yeah, or are you a fraction
I
and we're
believe
all fractions?
I believe in the multiverse, and so there's a quadrillion various multiverses. Each one of us reside in the multiverse where we are one, where we are zero. I don't know if you ever seen what was it? There's a cartoon that had Hawkman or whatever, where he figured out the prime multiverse, and if he destroyed that, he would destroy all multiverses. So we all reside in our own prime, but there's, quadrillion multiverses with singular primes all happening at once. That's my take on it, but
That's
getting
epic. So we all live on a server side, right? And there's a workplace, and that's like completely irrelevant. That's the Matrix. And then yeah, I see where you're going with this. This is educational. Thank you, John. And yeah, hopefully we can get the LLM discussion going, and also the no code AI agents. I'm super curious about that because I do realize that while setting up a Hugging Face AI agent, people aren't used to the little code. They have to know you can use an AI to code the code. So what is this no code AI agents?
So the no code AI agent is called Emergence AI. And if you go to the purple pill, I have a link directly to it. I just got the account. It's going to give you you get the free plan where you get 100 monthly requests for no charge, and then you move up to the enterprise level. And so I just started to try to figure out what it can and cannot do, and that's what I want to do before I start putting in prompts to see what it can do. But I think it's always good once you start working with an LLM, or you're introduced to a new one or a new system like this, is the first thing is you start asking, what its features are and what it can do before you start kind of getting into it. But Andy, do you have any thoughts on that, or Star, you want to continue this?
Always love to hear from Andy.
I love agents. I think agents are, the whole concept of agents is, the next step in basic, kind of programming, iterative programming. So the Captain Obvious, first you write code that produces one input, one output. Then you do code where you have one input, possibly multiple outputs. Then you do multiple inputs and one output. And then you start to connect those inputs as being various places. And then you start stacking those kind of blocks together into functional applications that can do more than one thing. Because if you remember your basic algebraic functions, you have one input and one output every time. Computers just count. They either count the number you give them, or they count the sequence of numbers you give them, which is multiplication. That's all they do. And division is just counting by negative numbers, and subtraction is counting by negative numbers. That's all it is. It's just two functions. It counts, and it just counts two things. It counts, right? And so you have to, everything gets broken down into that, right? It goes from your instantiated code of an LLM's reasoning output to some functional piece in a higher level activity that goes for like Java, which goes through an interpreter, which gets to assembler, gets to Fortran, and then down to the base level where it sends it to the CPU and gets an answer. That never changes. I don't care if you put the CPU in a virtual system on a iceberg. That basic structure I just described does not change. It hasn't changed yet until they come up with the quantum chips, which can do all of that almost simultaneously and do things at massive parallelism. Everything is still in sequence or in series. We just have, a chip is basically got 64 lanes, and it can handle 64 requests at the same time. But there's something at the beginning and the end of that always is taking the requests, breaking it up into the 64 lanes, sending the data through and getting the results on the other end, assembling them and sending them back up the chain. That's the way it is. And so all the things we're doing is just because the CPUs are processing, millions of times a second. And so we can send it mass amounts of data to get mass amounts of response, to then assemble in mass kind of ways to do cool things like, describe which pixel in this particular format on this particular computer system, on this particular operating system shows up when I push the button. Yeah, things that's, it's just practical compute. So when you add an LLM, you're simply changing the most close layer to you, not the rest of the tech stack. It's always the same.
That's I cannot disagree with that. I know this is very important. I just want to keep everybody updated. The troll is still in the back room. He hasn't left the office yet, so we can still call him when we need to. Star, and one thing that I have done, I don't know if I get annoying, just let me know. But I did take a picture of the dashboard for Eminence AI, so you can go to the Purple Pill, and there's a link to that, so you can kind of get an idea of what it looks like in the beginning. But I would really love it, Star, if you use it, or if anybody here uses it. It's free. I highly recommend everybody give it a try, and maybe the next show you can come and tell us what you've done with it, how it's worked, if it's any good. And I would be thoroughly interested in it, because yeah, I think what's going to happen soon is that we're going to get flooded with more and more of these. In my experiences, some of these dashboards that create this, I know it's not the case for the Gemini dashboard for the Google or the Alzur, but like some of the smaller ones, they might break on occasions, or we'll see how consistent they are. But consistency, I think, is still a bit of a problem. Star, what would you like to add?
Oh, nothing. I just, as I become more advanced in this LLM research, I do find it funny how the AI currently does want you to not use the LLM much. And I wonder how everybody's worried about access to AI. Like, am I getting the best? Who's getting the best? Why can't I ask 1,000 questions without it becoming slow or and I think, I always wonder if there's like a practical answer to that. If somebody really holds the keys to the LLM power machine and are able to turn that up or down, because I understand also if you run LLMs too much, it can break other LLMs, correct? So it can make all AI slower if you do too many processes. It's just interesting. I like the discussion of
Well,
LLM.
break's an interesting way of describing it. I'm not sure that's true. I think each, we've evolved as a industry to creating automatic kind of breakpoints of things that can go into and out of different systems. So it's always kind of an interesting thing.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to
have
break
heard-
stuff. I mean, I like breaking things, but
I have heard, to Star's point, that some LLMs are they have quantum characteristics, and if you look at them long enough, that they do change. And is that what you're talking about, Star, when you say that the effects can happen, even though, let's say, you're thinking about an LLM, and that might cause it to
yeah,
break?
and it can break in a fascinating way. Andy is right. And then I'm not so sure about the quantum side, because I know like quantum mechanics, basic quantum mechanics, and I understand that there's something called the observer effect, right? Where the observation of the user will directly affect the mechanics, or that or like something, until, like, let's say a neutrino star shoots across the galaxy and lands in front of Earth, and then starts affecting physics. They're like time and space and like things that are quantum, like when you look at them and observe them, they're almost I'm not sure how to put it, because this is where the conversation gets kind of sticky. Maybe Sanin knows what I'm trying to get out here.
What
yeah, there's
that,
a whole definition around quantum mechanics where you have two basic concepts. Okay, the first concept is you have quantum entanglement, which means there is a pair of electrons that will spin either at the same or the opposite way, regardless of their distance away from each other, right? So that's one. The second one is that quantum mechanics requires that if you are observing something, then the mere fact of its being observed somehow will change the way it behaves. And so by simply looking at the quantum entanglement, that may change its behavior. If you add those two things together, and the fact that, well, the concept idea of quantum entanglement, you can start to imagine, if I can operate or manipulate or track, monitor, or observe the actual spin rate of the electrons, I can do things like changing it back and forth would be a simple Morse code machine without any wires, without any distance parameters. You could figure out a way with just the idea of quantum entanglement to create a communications device that you could track everything on Mars and everything on the Earth, and you could simply send communications back and forth because there's no distance, relative distance, because of the way that they believe the quantum field exists, right? The quantum field is basically all energy all at once, everything connected to one quantum field, and therefore all of the physical and energy elements, all of matter inside that quantum field reacts in the same way across everywhere. Okay, that's a concept. It's kind of hard to conceptualize what you can do with that, but imagine you could do anything with anything, anywhere, anytime, and have nothing else connected to it. It's craziness.
I think that the when we bring up Mars, we do have to have a moment of silence for all of the civilizations that were there.
By the way,
before
did you
us.
happen to see Shatner's amazing post? William Shatner, right? Captain Kirk from Star Trek, posted on X today that he has decided that he is willing to go to Mars. Of course, today is April 1st. Just keep that in mind.
I thought he was actually a hologram, and his real personality was still in Mars, because he's so big. He's got such a big personality that one planet's not big enough. Solar system might be too small. So I know that we're really grasping at straws here, but sometimes that's the most fun, to see somebody on the tight wire and you wonder if they're going to fall or if they're going to stay on. Can they stay in balance in the zone? Do you want to head back to the news? I see that I've got an alarm going off, and it's telling me that we've got 15 minutes left, which is, sometimes it feels like a lifetime. Sometimes it feels like it's never enough. But I see that it's a pretty quiet room right now, and I think we're going to some lengths here to keep things engaging. We have one more news story. Actually, we have a few more news stories, but did we exhaust the node code agents? I have not really used the node code agents yet. I don't, the agents that I've used so far have been restricted in the sense that I have to put in a query to get them to act. I have not really gone with anything agentic, and I don't, I do know, what is it? Umesh has multiple agents that he's put together and orchestrated, but when you start to do that, you get into some of these high level prompts, you realize just a little smidgen of error or something that's not a total exactitude can just it's like if you build a house and something's off a quarter inch, and then you extrapolate to the whole building with all the weights and everything, it can really get everything out of kilter. I would love to hear if anybody here has gone down that process and what they have learned from it, in terms of, because that's the thing, is once you start getting into these prompts and you really have to have repeatable outcomes, you realize how difficult it is to get that to happen. That's just my experience. But we will go back to the next news story. Agentic AI, a new era of decision making. CNBC TV 8. CNBC highlights agentic AI as LLMs evolve into autonomous decision makers, transforming industries like finance and logistics. I mean, I could not imagine what it'd be like to build one of those systems for something that would have that high of a stakes using these agentic tools, unless you had severe, they were local and they had severe constraints on them.
Well, I think that, you're opening up yourself to the risk profile we've talked about in the past, that some LLM can absorb and digest your data, and therefore it then becomes part of anyone's data. And then how do you, how can you remove that little chunk from its overall reasoning? That's the hard part. You in the current data systems we have, we break up them by, think of it like a box. You have a box. It's only your data, nobody else's data, just yours, right? And the system can see everything, but no one in the system is allowed to see everything, except the AI tool can see everything. So it can just absorb every email from Google that Gmail that anyone has ever written or responded, and knows the metadata. It knows who it came from, when it came from it, and when did you and when did you read it? Did you respond? It knows all of that. And so then it can create all kinds of amazing profiles of things, and it can create inferences that may or may not be obvious and apparent to us. So that's the challenge. And the answer is, of course, segregation. You need to separate your data away from everybody else's stuff. So it's kind of like, I have a hammer and I can use it to bang on the piece of wood over there or the piece of wood in my garage. It's just the hammer. The problem is that a digital tool isn't just one digital hammer that you can pick up and carry around. It's the one thing that you're reaching out to grab from the ether, and then using that ether tool to apply to which one of the pieces. That's why I'm personally working on, as I've said before, a local LLM kind of reader answer box, so that the compute and reasoning area is in a separate space, so that I can focus that for each individual business. It's a basic idea. Not sure it's going to work. Still haven't figured out all of the pieces and parts yet, but that's the concept.
Well, yeah. Today, when I went, when I was trying to get some marketing data from Grok, and then I told Grok that it was giving me wrong information, and it could only use 95% synthetic data. It said, well, the reason that this happened most likely was because of a glitch. Or at first it was that I was feeding it false information. Of course I wasn't. And it said, and so then I was like, well, let's define what a glitch is, and then it kind of went down that a little bit. But today in Zoo and Sannon's space, they were talking about something to that effect. I forgot exactly what it was, but oh yes, it was that there's another large language model. It's not an LLM, but it's able to retrograde or deconstruct the problem, whereas the LLM's a black box, and you can't necessarily have it explain to you exactly what the process was that got it to create the wrong output. And so I think that hopefully over the next year or two, yeah, because we don't know how things are going to change, if these various AIs kind of mutate or form into a hybrid or something. But if that problem can be solved, where hey, you came up with this wrong answer, now let's deconstruct how you got this answer and find out exactly what the nugget was that took you to this wrong place, and let's permanently fix it. Because even though I went to Grok and explained to Grok that it was wrong, and it was giving me the wrong output, I said, now that we went through this exercise, is it less likely that you will give me wrong information in the future? And it couldn't really hold itself accountable to that, which is a problem.
Did it hallucinate while trying to keep itself accountable? I'm really curious. Was it like a back and forth between the LLM itself telling you that, well, if you open a new LLM, it can't guarantee that, but if you keep it with this one, it will do its best. Like I'm wondering how it copes, because when you do behave normally to the AI, it does give you, like I said before, it will give you things that are incorrect outputs. I wonder if behaving not normally or behaving more like a troll is better. I'm actually curious.
I tried saying my name is Abby Normal, and it didn't seem to affect it one way or the other. I could try various names and see maybe it has biases for different personalities. I'm a troll with a family under a bridge. Bridge troll maybe is different than a tree troll. I'm not sure how it affects
only
the
in
output.
Monty Python's Holy Grail.
Right.
Absolutely. And is it a European swallow or
African swallow?
Sure.
I mean, if it grabs the coconuts with its claws, then
Well, then it would be a
But
coconut swallow. You know, now I have to code a killer rabbit in my game just because you said that, Andy. I need to code a killer rabbit.
yeah, I mean, but this is a problem. So it's interesting to me that they do have these enterprise solutions, and so someone somewhere, please tell me, I would like to know, has someone figured out this problem, how to go back through the process of these LLMs when they come out with the wrong output and determine where exactly that problem came from and then fix it so you don't have this reoccurring issue. Now, I mean, but or is it that you? I mean, I'm just curious. I know there's a lot of people here who do a lot of things, and there must be some situations where these problems have been solved to a satisfactory degree, or are we all living in, the world that we're living in?
It's an interesting question because, you know, when you ask the AI or you give the AI certain things, if it's incorrect, I think if you have some sort of output and you feed it things machines understand, it tends to understand its error, but doesn't complete the task fully. I don't know if anybody else has had this experience. So I would say feeding outputs, speaking to it like a computer instead of speaking to it like a human sometimes can break its can make it work better, opposite of breaking it. But I'm not sure, you know, like when you're prompting something, you want to get something very specific. And the whole cool thing about Grok 3, and you just said Grok 4 is coming out, that's amazing. I think everybody who missed Grok 2 Mini. That was a thing for 2 days. But yeah, Grok 4 should be able to handle some of this stuff. It's interesting, you know. But yeah, I guess I have not that much interesting things to add today besides coming here to learn. The news was really exciting. No code AI agents is exactly. I will test it for you, John. It didn't just go over my head. I will test it for you in 103, episode 103. I'll come back and I'll let you know how it goes.
Perfect. And so now you are a musician. I understand that. Are you really in Carlsbad?
I'm in
I'm not
Florida right
sure if I
now. I
can.
flew to Florida to visit my mom in Palm Beach, and it's my son's first time in the United States. I'm from Carlsbad, but most of the time when I'm speaking to you, I'm actually in Mexico.
Interesting. But so and with the music, so just out of curiosity, I have not really got into the whole music. I mean, there's some things that are interesting in terms of patterns and what have you. And actually, I heard a AI Beatles song the other day, which was actually pretty good. I was very impressed. And I was also thinking, do you remember when Dolly came out and everybody was kind of floored that Dolly could create these AI images? Was that like a year ago?
Yeah,
Because I have a whole library of images that I created with that, and they are total mutants. Hands all. I mean, the 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 acceleration of abilities with images and moving images now, what we're seeing in the past week on X is really stunning, to a degree that's hard to wrap your head around.
I completely agree. You know, as a musician, I'm just looking for something that could generate unique rhythms in MIDI. So I'm a DAW producer. My wife is a classical pianist, but she also finds like the digital audio workstations fascinating. And I think the LLMs are going to have to adapt quicker to the digital audio workstations. FL Studio, Ableton, Logic, name your digital audio workstation, Pro Tools, Cubase, whatever. But if I just had a machine that will give me a unique rhythm in MIDI, then I would just do that to start all my music. Like I wouldn't go ahead and like make my drums unique. I would add layers of melodies and harmonies onto MIDI drums. So for me, until AI understands how MIDI works and I can download MIDI drum packs, I don't see it outpacing me yet as a musician. I feel bad for the graphics artists because I as well, you know, like I'll call my and you know there's something special, and I think it's worth saying this as like a last sentence here on 102, Andy and John. But for me it's like how do I put it, if somebody took a photograph and handed it to me and said, I took this photo for you, then they can't take away that human love of the photograph and the attachment and the story behind making that photo. But what it and if I have a song I want to put out, I will contact like a graphic artist because I know they're out of business these days, and I'll say, hey, can you make me a unique album cover art? I don't care how you get it done. If you need to use AI, you can use AI, but you know, like graphics artists, they don't like using AI because they're so good at their art. They can draw things by hand. It may take them more time. And then when you get it, you have that emotional attachment to the piece of art itself. Now, when Dolly came out, it was like people would just want to get a picture of Mario fighting like a Jedi, or they'll want like a Disney. They want themselves as a Disney character. And these things are interesting and fun, and I like them. But it does show that trend. You know, the jobs will go away, or they'll at least have to change. But the emotional part of taking a photograph, of making someone a song, of making someone graphic art, that will never go away. So that's all. So I think that's the best way I can analyze that. Yeah, I have a bunch of Dolly photos myself. Um, I have a bunch of Grok photos. The Grok photos were really
Yeah,
Hey, John,
I'm
I just wanted to say thanks, everybody. I got to run. Make sure you follow
Hi,
our
Andy.
sponsor, Virtual Synergy, and you guys are awesome. Please keep going with the second hour, third hour, whatever John's got available. So appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. Thanks again. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.
Can I speak for a second?
yes, and who's talking?
Kyle.
Kylito.
Kyle. Kyle.
Trust me, I won't go into Lord Farquaad, I promise.
Well, just you know, I've got to keep the room pretty tight here because we're, you know, really on point today. It is April Fool's, so I'll give you 3 sentences.
All right. Welcome. I just confirmed that China is using OpenAI to train DeepSeek. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Kyle. That's good.
That was
Well,
2
I
sentences.
think that really no, I think it was 3. It depends, you know, how your grammar is, but
Oh,
mine's
true.
not so
Yeah,
good
I'm a comma
'cause I'm
splicer. That's true.
yes. And we have something in common. We're both dyslexic, so I think that we have a specific way we think. But yeah, and Kyle, I think in about 5 minutes, you can say
Are you making fun of my joke towards our Australian, no,
Dude,
UK Andy? UK Andy?
you ate up your time. I'm gonna have to bring you down. So I apologize. But I'm not apologizing because that's part of what I have to do. I have to be that guy. And I'm gonna hold off. I'm gonna hold off. Something's telling me to hold off, Kyle, but I'm gonna be that guy. So you're gonna have to measure your words very carefully. Otherwise, you're gonna be stuck in the room with the troll. And I think he's still here. I do want to give a troll update. Let me take a look. And he might have left the building. No, he left. But we have to give him some reading material or something so he can sharpen his trollish skills, you know.
Yeah, and
Because
you have to
it's
remember
important if
here it's important for him to sharpen his tools because he can find a space where he'll fit in, you know? He'll fit in and find like-minded individuals. But here we're training him.
yeah, we're training the troll, and every space needs their troll. And yeah, they really need to bring up their game, and they have to, you know, they have to sharpen their tools. And then what do they say? Steel sharpens steel. So maybe we need a troll room where they can really troll each other in a way. A room full of mirrors and no doors, no windows. So it is April Fool's today. I'm feeling something, and some energy in the air, and I do feel like there is some correspondence between AI and just the absurdity of existence. Is anybody else feeling that, or am I the only one?
Yeah, I'm
You
hallucinating
know,
right now,
because
John.
we are perfect, because we, you know, it is this menagerie, and if we are in a trillion parallel universes, are each solo universe being the prime for us. And then, you know, when we pass through, I had the experience. So I had a chameleon, and I was going through something at the time, and I was convinced that that somebody who's very bad in the public eye, that when he passes, he's coming back as a chameleon. Or it could be, you know, like what are those female bugs that all they do, they live underground and they just produce um offspring and they don't really move and they pass away pretty quickly and they keep on coming back. But I'm pretty sure I was told once that should I say that? No, I shouldn't say that, but that is kind of cruel. But you know, sometimes you get these messages or downloads from the cosmos, and it's hard to it just like this is where the parallel is going. I don't know if anyone's like me, but sometimes I get messages from the cosmos, but it's impossible to determine the accuracy of such things. And so that is the correspondence with the LLMs in terms of me trying to wrestle with Grok to determine the accuracy of its output. And if it's not accurate, we agree upon that. How do we go back through his mental processes to get to a point where we can say, all right, we fix this. And so now for moving forward, you have, just like you would teach an employee or a kid or whatever, they're growing up, you know, you do this and the outcome's not a good outcome. So now that you've learned this, because you are supposedly, you know, an intelligent thing, which it's not, but everybody calls it artificial intelligence, which the more I hear about that, the more I believe it's probably an inside joke, that it fixes this and it doesn't do the thing again and again and again. So Will, I see you're here, and do you have anything to pitch today?
To pitch today, same thing as last time.
That's not a great pitch, but I'm happy that you did it. So you might want to work on your pitching skills.
John, please
But I'm not sure.
let him pitch us, please.
All right, so I was developing a open sourced, decentralized marketplace where users can trade. All right, where my bad, I'm just feeling a bit shy today. And off.
It's okay.
So Will, so Will, I understand. Tell us a little bit about you. I want to know your background.
My background?
Did you? Yeah. So, like, in other words, like, what got you? Like, who do you consider yourself to be? What sings to you? What is your bliss? What is your state when you lose track of time and you forget everything because you're so focused? Or have you ever had that experience?
Quite a few times. It always depends on like what I'm
And
focused
so
on as well.
So can you? I mean,
Did you bring toilet paper to the Capitol?
oh, hold it. No, don't go there. Are you over the age of 18?
Yes.
Okay, good. So then, okay, perfect. You're an adult, so it's okay. You're so what has brought you to this point where you feel that you have what it takes to start pitching, and is your desire to see the product fulfilled, or is your desire to get the money to see it fulfilled?
It's definitely to get the product fulfilled.
Okay, so the floor is yours. Go for it.
All right. So I'm developing a decentralized open source social media app and marketplace in one, where users can seamlessly engage in e-commerce, specifically gigs. That's my main targeted marketplace. We use a variety of different cryptocurrencies: Bitcoin, XMR, Zcash, and Ethereum. Users can create their own custom contracts and request myself and my business as a
I hate to cut you off. Have you gone out to anyone and done any research about the desire for such a thing? Have you spoken to anyone without saying your idea, but just asking them about their problems within the space that you're in? In other words, are you having trouble with X, Y, or Z?
like, have I tried pitching to people in the same space? Like,
No, not pitching, just asking people what their problems are, what their frustrations are. Not thinking about you, but thinking about them.
I have thought about people's problems, of course, but
No. Not you think about the problems, you ask them to hear about their problems.
anyone in specific who, in general, my product isn't ready to release um, soon, so that's kind of my one issue whenever it comes to that. But yes, I
I
have.
think what he's trying
I
to
think
say is like holistically, when you think of your ideas, do you think about society's problems when you come up with your ideas?
Definitely a huge amount, honestly.
And have you asked anybody about this? Like without your idea being present, like for instance, how'd you come up with your idea? Was it like did you notice a vacuum of people not being able to find gigs? Or did you ask certain contractors if they weren't getting enough money?
It was more that I was doing two different things. Well, one of the things that I was doing was I was just looking at the web. I was looking at this one website. It was called Folksonomy or folksonomy.org. It's on archive.org. And I was looking through some of the books and I thought to myself, all right, what if I wanted to what if I were using some of these ideas for engineering, but I myself can't necessarily find what I wanted to while I was using them new, I'd eventually get stuck on one of these problems in real life. Whenever it comes to learning any sort of technical skill in any field you can think of, and thought I should just be able to comment here or to ask for anyone to solve my own problem. In plain terms, in using that information.
So Will, you just said something I didn't quite understand it. What was that last sentence that you said? You were thinking about.
So I was on the website, I believe it was called folksonomy.com. Yeah, folksonomy.com. Yeah. And so while I was on there looking through their information and some of their textbooks, I thought to myself, all right, so I might be looking through this thing, but I know I'm eventually going to be stuck on a problem here for probably a few hours. If I could simply just sign like a crypto wallet and then just pay anyone online to solve my problem within a few seconds.
So what you might want to do is find some communities where there's people who use wallets and start asking them if what is their problems with putting these wallets
I don't mean
together
like just
or
wallets. I mean
whatever.
like finding real world utility for crypto, not just keeping crypto in the crypto space. I mean like having it branch out into many other areas where it could be used. So for instance, let's suppose if I were working on a CAD file and something I was printing out didn't quite seem right, I should be able to, let's say, pay someone to walk me through my own problems, like right there and then. Or let's suppose if I were writing code, like some people kind of beat me to this idea at first, but this was definitely one of my original plans, was to have like a Stack Overflow clone where you just pay people to solve your problem.
That's that I'm sure that would be a big thing, pay people to solve your problems. There's there Yeah, that happens all the time.
Yeah. So it would be like a
That's,
pretty,
that's
so the whole point of it would be to have like a website where
All right, Will, I'm going to have to cut you off. You're going to have to think about this a little bit more. You might want to, if anybody, you know what might be great? If the room, there's a lot of wisdom here. Are there any books that maybe Will might want to read, or does anybody want to, bring? I don't think I can do anything for you, Will. Here,
I don't blame you.
um,
Like, this is
except
why I wasn't speaking up earlier today. I was just feeling a bit shy. So
Sorry, William.
Well, I think you're coming up in the space, you're speaking, you're grabbing the mic. Not everybody's doing that. You're doing that. Pat yourself on the back. It's April Fool's. Give yourself a high five for that. And just, go to the library, read some books on building businesses or how to solve people's problems and get paid. Something like that. Ask Rock and Sonnen, how are you?
Hey, John, Andy, thank you. Awesome. Will, this is a fantastic book that applies forever. Connected Strategy by Nikolai Sigelkov and Christian Terevich. It explains all of the mechanics, all of the vehicles that are happening in tech, cross-sectioning it, virtual, real world, and it absolutely has so many super important and revealing elements to figure out how to make business work, not only like how to build it. It's not like startup book. It's kind of customer relationship book, but explains tech to the level like insane details, like 5 years old kid will understand it. And it really, if you ask me, Blue Ocean versus this book, like Blue Ocean is complete bullshit compared to this book, if you read that one. But that one is great too.
Shannon, can you say the name of that again and the author?
Was it Connected Strategy Building Continuous by Nikolai Sigelkov?
Yes, Nikolai Sigelkov and Christian Terevich. I'll search on the web and post it in here.
I personally enjoyed The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn.
So okay. So Will, you can I highly recommend you get that book, you read it, and then you can come back and tell us what you learned. And ask questions. Best thing, and when you read it, get a notebook and things that you don't understand, write down in the notebook and then explore them further. And you should always have a note. If you're developing something or you're building something, you should have a notebook or 5 notebooks by your side. You should be writing things down all the time, learning from the notebook. It's your magic notebook. And I can't read a book without having a notebook next to me, or I highlight or underline things. But that's really important, I think. Sandy, you want to do a follow-up, or Tim?
Oh, sorry, Tim, go ahead. I'm searching for the book.
Yeah, so William, we've had many conversations together, and since you told us here today that you're over 18, I'm going to take off my kid gloves here. Like, we gave you a lot of good feedback a day or two ago. You're not taking any of our feedback, right? I told you, and John here, right now, told you, like, you have a problem. You think you have a problem. Now you need to go verify that problem, right? You need to go. It's almost like I feel like I'm in like a parallel space. I was on a space for 6 or 7 hours before this space, and I feel like it's like the exact same parallel thing, right? Like, verify problem. Fundamentally, what do entrepreneurs do? They find problem, they verify problem, and then they solve problem, right? So, For whatever it's worth, I'm not telling you don't do your business idea. I'm just saying verify your problem, right? Don't just be all talk, right? Do. Don't just say, show, right? Show us like what you've done, right? And until such time that you do show us what you've done, and yes, I think Sanin might have a good book for you, but that's just like an exercise in education, right? It's about applying that, right? Know how, like knowing how to apply that knowledge. I don't know how many years of work experience you have, and that is relevant to this discussion, because that's directly correlated, not fully correlated, but partially statistically correlated to like your know-how, how to apply the knowledge that you've learned from like all these great speakers, like John or Sanin or others that have, been doing their best, myself included, to help you, right? But at the end of the day, you need to help yourself, right? You need to be able to um, take whatever resonates with you, right? If what Tim says is garbage, that's okay. I'm not offended. Just like throw it away. But maybe what Sanan said or maybe what John said resonated with you. But at the end of the day, just action, like do the next thing, right? If not, like, and no offense, it's just sort of like, this is just like wind. We're just like talking like circles, right? So I hope you take this
And
well. This is not whatever, but since you revealed to us here that you're over 18, my kid gloves are off.
one thing, now that I'm in this incubator with the Innovators Think Tank, we are kind of going through exercise that I've never gone through before, which is really good. But and I'll get into it at some point. But there's attributes that you've got to have. Some people, I know, I've met some very interesting people in my lifetime. I'm a little bit older than you. And one attribute that I've always been just floored by is the people that are able to be a magnet to people that are going out of their way to fulfill the vision of a person. And if you meet people like that in your life, they kind of go on autopilot where they chase their bliss. They're not manipulating or anything like this. They're just like this force of nature, and they're like this magnet that gets people around them that invest themselves in fulfilling the vision of this one person. And that is a skill that is probably one of the greatest skills on earth. And I don't know, I mean, I'm sure this person that I know wasn't born with it, or maybe they were the inkling or germinated of it, but throughout their lives they did this, that, and the other thing that made it stronger and stronger and stronger. And so, you can sit there. I mean, I'm kind of wasting my air at this time, but I'm sure that there's other people that maybe this has some help to know a thing or two about a thing or two. But I'm tired. I think I'm gonna take a nap. No, but I'm serious now. But you've got to understand. You need to read. Like, why did Warren Buffett do what he did? Why did so and so do what they did? I believe that any people like in Warren Buffett or anyone who's at that level, they become this energy that that is reinforced by those that are surrounding them, that become mirrors of their vision. I don't know if you understand what I'm talking about, but I believe that that's probably more important than your beginning idea. And the idea, who cares about your idea? Nobody cares about your idea. What everybody cares about themselves. Now we go back to the beginning conversation. We are all the prime directive of our own parallel universe where we are it. And so everyone's having that experience at the same time. They don't care about you. They don't care about your ideas. But if you can come to them and ask them perfectly, hey, what is your problem? And then, I think I've found a solution for your problem. Then people are going to give a crap. But besides that, no one's going to care. Tim or Shannon?
No, I think those are very good arguments. Oh, go ahead, Will.
Respond to Tim. Yes, I did take some of his advice as well as some of Sannon's advice, definitely, and Zuhair's.
Will,
Yes.
you're going to get to the point of no return. You're going to eventually get to the point where nobody's going to even want to talk to you. You've got to start to producing. You've got to now show up and say, hey, I took the bull by the horn. And if you don't know how to do that, find somebody who does and say, hey, I'm going to go out of my way and help you and expect nothing in return, because I need to learn a thing or two, because I haven't, for whatever reason, all of us are born into this world. We have limitations. Maybe we have limitations within our family. Maybe we have limitations within ourselves. Maybe we have limitations within the neighborhoods we were born into. That, we've got to, you've got to have some urgency to get to another place. You're showing up here and you're talking, so something's going on.
Yeah, it's like my
Okay, that's a good sign. But then you got to know when to shut up, to go away, and then come back with something tangible to
Do you
report
mean
on.
like show like a repo, or do you mean like
No, like go out and talk to people. I think I'm going to take a nap.
It's okay.
We
Like,
got to
let me
figure it
jump in
out.
here. So, William, you said that you listened to me and Sannon's advice. So, did you ask anyone? Do you have results you can demonstrate to us that you spoke with someone that verifies that the problem that you're trying to solve is a real problem? Yes or no? Just a yes or no.
I kind of always knew it was a real problem because I faced them myself.
No, that's
No,
a no. That's unacceptable.
William. Number one, you have to learn how to listen. You've got to listen. My father would always say this. Me and my father, we hit each other in the head all the time. I love the guy, but he's him and I'm me, whatever. But you've got to listen. And if you react to a question, you got to make sure that you understand it. And if you're not sure you do, you say, can you please repeat the question? And then you say what they say back to them, so they know that you understand, that you heard them. Don't speak, Will. Just listen.
Yeah, so like literally Santa and I are not being paid a single cent, nor do we need your money. We're trying to honestly help you, right? And so like, you keep coming in, and that's fine. That's good actually, because that shows that you're willing to like at least listen. But like, don't just listen, like apply, like do, right? And so that might mean, you go away for a little bit, you apply anything that maybe, as I said, like, I'm not offended because literally I have no stake in the game. I'm not investing in your business, so I won't lose sleep or money from whatever you are contemplating doing. However, if you're like if like John, Andy, Shannon, just so many people here like give really good advice, in my opinion, you got to action on that, bro. Like action, right? Like time is short, and maybe you're like in your early 20s. I don't know. I'm in my 40s, but my point is time is short. Like you will, once you're like in your 40s or 50s or 60s, you're going to be like, oh my God, like I just spent so much time like talking about like stuff, but I didn't apply. Like don't apply, do. Right? Yes, like don't just learn. Yes, learning is important, but like do the thing you're gonna do. Until such time, it's just like it's difficult for us to help you help yourself, right? We're just giving you ideas and tools to help yourself, right? At the end of the day, like as John said, you got to take the bull by the horns, and like you're the architect of your own destiny. Do you know what I mean?
yes?
And Tim, sorry, not Tim, William, I'm on a bike and I'm just enjoying my ride out here. But I think what Tim was speaking to you about was less than the action of doing, as more as the action of accountability. So if you find somebody, like John said, and if you want to work for somebody and do whatever you can, whatever your capabilities are, improve, you need to make sure that person is holding you accountable. Accountability is everything. So instead of, for instance, coming back next space and saying, yeah, I have this idea I'm working on. I haven't cross-referenced it with anybody. Instead of doing that, just do one of the things that was suggested, like read a book, come back, let us know what you thought about it, or read parts of it, at least do it, and then you'll be held accountable. And then that accountability that you're held to will increase your respect, your loyalty. You'll get more people in wanting to be involved eventually. You know, when I'm working with I'm working with a person closely, and I even have a friend as a listener. But I'll tell you what, I wouldn't be anywhere unless I was held accountable, unless I was told specifically, because I'm like you, William. I like having big ideas. I like solving problems, and I honestly don't like asking people for their shitty opinions. But yeah, but William, the final thing I wanted to say was just find somebody who will hold you accountable. Find somebody that you can work for, who will sit down with you and not charge you by the hour. They'll just sit down with you and work with you on a project, and then you'll have something at the end. 1 year from now, you'll have something, and then that thing will be beautiful. That's the thing you come back and you brag about, and then we'll be like, oh, we were bullying Tim. I mean, we were bullying William, or I know we're not bullying you, but it will play on us as though you did something we did not achieve because you've accomplished it with someone. And that's, I think, another thing that we're assuming. We need to work with people here.
Yeah, there's no bullying going on here with William. William, you're showing up. You're going to take it like a man. You're going to improve. You're going to go away. You're going to stop talking. You're going to do some work, and then you're going to show up. Otherwise, people are of you, and they're going to stop putting their time into you. That's how these things work.
Right.
And you know what? It's lonely being lonely. I'll tell you that. And the thing is, the worst is when nobody cares. So make sure that you don't get to that point. Don't push this crowd long enough that people are just blah, William. You're not even, and yeah, just work on things. Sanan?
Great point, guys. I just want to point out something. Don't want to none of us to put the additional pressure on William. I was listening his response, and the other day we spoke about many different options, from buying the app and then building from there, hiring the people, giving them the shares, having the partners and everything. And I see that he's thinking about this stuff because he was like, oh, am I still building or should I proceed with this and that? And he's taking time, I think, to make this final decision. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's how I interpret all of this. And if this is the case, this is really, really great progress. And correct me if I'm wrong, William.
You're correct.
Awesome. I'm sorry if I hope you don't feel I'm giving you a hard time. I might be giving you a hard time. I'm not such a great judge of myself, but I wish you the best, William.
So as a star KLR was saying, that's kind of why I hop into these spaces. Honestly, to find people for like he meant, in that sense of just being accountable with, or target certain problems together in that regard. So
I love your PDF, and I think you got a great account. Everybody follow William, follow his journey, give him encouraging DMs, let him know that you care about his work. He's
I mean, by that I mean it's not encouragement that I necessarily need. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's a helpful thing.
William, sometimes we don't know what we need.
I kind of do know what I need, though.
If your community will be accountable, and if your boss doesn't make you cry every once in a while, William,
I don't mean
a good community or a good boss
necessarily, as much as I mean actual help on problems.
Okay, I'm gonna cut you off, William. Sanan or Tim or Star, please. Yeah, just you need to sometimes you need to acknowledge your limitations, and maybe you're not 100% self-aware. No. Sanan or Tim?
No, I'm good. I think I've added all I needed to add today. And please understand, I
Hey,
guess one thing really quick. I'm not like none of us are being hard for the sake of being hard. We're trying to give you feedback, constructive feedback, to the best of our abilities based on like what we do know about you, based on what you said, etc. To help you help yourself. And if what Tim says is complete garbage, that's fine. Just throw it away. But surely, you know, someone on this space or other spaces, you know, gave you some helpful information. If it's to the degree it's helpful for you, then action on it. That's all I wanted to say. So other than that, I'm done.
And I'm gonna change the title of the space. I'm curious, Tim and Shannon and anyone else in the room. So I'm new to the Innovators Think Tank, and we're going through a process that I've never gone through before. But it seems to me in just the little bit that I've done that really the founder or the person who thinks of a business or whatever, they're really an agent for the investor in a way. Their job is to go out and to find the truth of something that's kind of hidden and then verify that that truth truly exists, a problem that needs to be, and then put together the team to solve it. Is that like what in the heart of somebody who's starting a business and they're looking for investors? The best business is you don't need investors. You're able to figure out how to make it generate money on its own without having to ask anybody. But if you have to go down the road to get investors, like what's the philosophy behind this system that seems to be in place? Can you help me with that a little, Tim or Shannon or anyone?
Shannon, do you want to take this first?
Oh yeah, thanks, Tim. Okay, I can tell you from my perspective. I've never seen myself as entrepreneur, and Zoo knows we discussed. I don't even consider this word meaning anything. It's a business, so you go the ways to figure out how to make money, and then out of that money you start to build the ecosystem. So the ecosystem is not only in terms like building more businesses or having everything like it's shown to us from the Silicon Valley hype and stuff and so on. In some terms, it's like, okay, so real estate developers are the best explanation for this. So you have a guy who is having an architect and there is a team on the side. He comes to the bank, he comes to, I don't know, investors or whomever. I'm going to build this building with apartments. And then he gives the projections. And then they are all, okay, how much I'm going to earn? You're going to earn an apartment because right now, if you invest into the construction materials and stuff, you can get apartment for 50 to 100,000. When it will be at a selling point or on a market, then it will cost $500,000. So you are earning money just by providing me whatever it is, cement or whatever you pay for. And that's how business actually work and all of these hubs and stuff and everything. So if you can find solution that makes money, it will work. And it doesn't have to be like innovation. It can be even intravation. So you can have a friend who is in a business and he's struggling with something and you see the solution, you discuss with him, and then you propose. And that's kind of thing how it works. It's very simple, but I think we are overcomplicating it. So you just need to find a way how to make money. I do understand someone can push back on like
I feel like
societal
I'm
stuff.
honestly where you
Yeah,
just said you were standing in that sense. That's kind of why I have
oh yeah,
these.
yeah. And then like I don't know, community development and everything. But then let's be realistic. If you're at the beginning and you're building money, how you are going to give back if you don't have an extra money to give back? And these are all some of the excuses, sort of say, for already established schemes to run these different aspects of the businesses and business environment. So that's how I see it. That's how I roll. And all people I know and all people that taught me this roll the same way.
Tim, is there anything you want to add? Or and have you, in your ventures, have you ever like found funding sources that are, I don't know, alternative funding sources? Or I don't know what's going to happen here in the States in the next couple of years. I think, Grant Cardone says, oh, there's going to be a lot of money for building. I think the floodgates going to go off. California hasn't built in since the 80s. I mean, there's so much potential here that's been locked up. In an environment where things start to pop, which might happen, what do? You don't change anything, and who cares? You're focused on what you're focused on. Like, what would there be things that you would be looking at in a situation like that that would be specific to that type of situation, or the fundamentals stay the same and you don't care?
Oh, I'm always changing, always evolving. So for me, the most important part when I run the business is to create a space for maneuver. For example, this is maybe banal. Last summer, we launched very expensive, very cool campaign, which failed, like immediately failed. But we created a defensive or um, risk defend structure. So we literally changed everything to play in our favor in 3 hours in one day. Same goes with the business. And now there are some stuff you should know you should know about the structures of the business. So, for example, I've been in situations where business is falling down. I'm very competitive individual. I don't like to lose and stuff and shit and everything. So I issued employee stocks. So people were buying the business from which I exited. Another case is that you can issue a different type of the shares that people can come into your business, and so on and so on. So it's not like a rug pull or anything. You just want to steer yourself to something else. You just want to do I don't know, something else. This happened to me in dental industry. Like I felt tired. I was a little bit bullied by this like super big DSOs backed by some large PEs, and the structure was that I was overperforming compared to them. But then things were started happening. Like they were trying to bribe the doctors. They were trying to bribe the stuff, and the problem is with the stuff. It's very hard to find a desk a person. It's very hard to find the technician or assistant. And what happens is that these gig kind of the opportunities for them really do not let them be completely committed to your office's stuff. And I was like, okay, I want to exit. Guys, I'm going to issue shares to you. This is all going to be yours. I'm going to be paid out, and I'm out. So there are plenty of ways to prevent. Of course, you cannot prevent losses 100%, but you can create this maneuver space to at least move you toward either direction. And another thing Tim and I discussed the other day, I don't see crisis necessarily as a bad. I see it as an opportunity, because the economy in general is the rule. There's only one rule: finding greater fall, and that's it. So it goes buy at a dip, sell it as a high, and that's pretty much it. So crisis gives options to find, let's say, undervalued company that needs to have some progression in terms of recovery and so on and so on. And this gives you like really huge opportunities, either as a consultant, either as a third party partner, or even to invest or buy the business completely and then run it till the exit, or run it like forever.
Yeah, the DSO space is pretty they're gobbling up a lot. I just know from one client. We have these discussions periodically. And so that's, regional areas and stuff like that. I don't know that much about it, but for situations like that, do you when you were looking to invest in that, is a bank a best option? Have you ever done anything where you found something where you could service the purchasing of it through the income that was brought? You could negotiate a deal. Like, you hear about those kind of deals. Does that really happen, or is all that just kind of marketing garbage so somebody can sell their course?
So my experience is this: there is no business that can create enough money so that you can buy another business. One of the example, when I created the first dental group, small group, 7 offices, I started with a bank loan. We purchased office of, I think, 370,000, and we were working to improve it for 1 year. Then when estate became mature and we did have like very, very good balance sheet, we sold the estate and leased it back for the next 3 years. From that money, we purchased an office down street, and we repeated the same thing. So the entire acquisition happened in 3.5, 4 years. At the exit, we didn't have any of the estate, but we did have leases that gave us a huge option for exit. Plus the technology in dentistry, technology is like huge thing. So there must be a leverage. There must be a hedge. It's at least people that I know. I don't know, like even Google, they recently purchased that Vise, I think, or Vase from Israel. Even their $1 trillion company, I still think that was done with the debt. It's just more beneficial.
I'm sorry. Please finish. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I just said like it's more beneficial. So in general, if you know how to pull out, so IPO works differently. For them, debt can be more tolerant, let's say, than in alternative assets or private markets. It's not only like, I hear people mostly using it or thinking of it, creating the tax shield, which is good. But I'd say, for example, if I will be launching business again right now, I will use debt to get to the MVP, to get to the market, because that's something you can sacrifice less of what you have. If you get immediately into the equity, you already have this strings being pulled in a different direction within a company, and company needs to have like vision, and everybody in align with that vision. And now if you build everything and somebody comes to you and say, oh, I disagree with this, that's why you have these options like back and forth with the businesses. And that's another thing why I think at the beginning equity should come on top of the debt. Of course, we are talking about debt that you can take. One of the best examples for me is Richard Branson. He literally put his house, entire family, on a street, taking the loan, putting the house as a collateral, and he introduced optical cable to the UK. So he's majority owner of the entire optical cable in the UK, and that's the debt you can pay out. So you will end up on the street. I know risk is like extreme, but that's the tech that really was obviously next big step in producing everything. And from there, he started Virgin and so on and so on. So something like that in that terms, not in that large scale. Of course, for this kind of the businesses, you need to have people inside in government everywhere, because if somebody don't likes you and this technology is something that the entire country is going to use, you can be literally cut off and moved on aside. But yeah, and this is not financial advice. This is, I'm just like sharing how I did it and how I'm doing it.
So I have one question. To find common values and to know that you're quickly aligned with the vision, do you look for that in the people that you buy a business from, as well as the people that you decide to work with? And do you have kind of a standard procedure on how to determine that quickly, or do you say this is something that's so important I've got to wait? What's that process like? Because that's a very important to figure out before you get involved with anyone in that level, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So for me, when I'm looking at the, let's say, family businesses or heritage businesses that are in generations, like I mentioned a couple of times, gaskets and these string instruments, I'm looking that no one is interrupting the 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 family operations, because that's something that is done in generation. It's in generations. They know how it works and stuff and so on. You just come in as a friend or trusted partner to open the possibilities. When it comes to the firm or let's say the companies, I will fire people because they are not aligned with the vision. I really don't care about their skills and stuff and so on. That's something you can learn on the go. Because if we do not share same vision, even we differ completely, like to extreme level, there is no way. Like why would you go and proceed or do whatever if people are not aligned? And by the vision, it's not something that I'm making decision of what vision is. We all sit down and we agree, and then we vote, and then we see the options, and then we make decision. Okay, we don't want to become the biggest, let's say, tax software company in the industry, but we want to become most advanced tax company in the industry. And then you start moving things. In general, I think the best skill one can have is people management. Like if you are able to manage talent, you can achieve miracles. It really doesn't matter like if you are, I don't know, the best in finances, the best in marketing, the best in like whatever. I'd say like people management skill is number one for everything. Like big armies were losing the battles because of the people management issues, not because of the supply and arms and stuff and so on. So I think that's the number one thing. And usually last part, this is where I will land. I like to have one-on-one conversations with every single employee I have, and we do not talk business. We do talk about things that we like, and it's 15-minute conversation monthly. I just want to know in terms, okay, how we can collectively improve everything. So if your expectations are to, let's say, next year end up with a higher salary just so you can, I don't know, buy the house or something, and so on and so on. I want our company to support you in it, so you will see more benefit and you will give back. Now, this sometimes plays out completely like wrongly or negatively, but in general, that trust element among us, like I never use titles, nothing. I'm just Sanin. That really moves things like insanely, and that's what I think the most important thing. Sorry for this monologue, but yeah, that's how I'm doing it.
No, that's I think really important in terms of, we all have a limited amount of time and energy, and how do we want to focus it? And if you start from the alpha directive, alignment of vision, and that creates a framework that makes the whole thing work. yeah, if you can quickly identify that, I think that's super important for all of us. And in this world of networking, I don't know if networking's the right term. If you can find that within, by sharing information on a space, you might you might find, is that too broad? Is that too crazy? Or am I, or is that like when you were, do you always have your antennas up, or is it specific for a project? I mean, that would be too exhausting, I would imagine. And then we'll go to Tim. Sorry, I just kind of focused on this because I just find it really interesting.
So I think leadership is okay. Please, I don't want to be misunderstood by what I'm going to say. Every coach, every book, every whatever on leadership is, in my opinion, completely off the mark. Because I used to play basketball. So when I was playing in Bosnia, they did have like very traditional style of holding the ball and everything. And then you have the best player who is going to score. And you just follow those rules. When I moved to play in Italy, they play at speed almost like after the NBA. They were playing the faster than NCAA. And it changed everything. I was having more freedom to use the boys I'm playing with. And something I mentioned, if my big boy is not working, how I'm going to use it? I don't know. Is he going to create the blocks? Is he going to, I don't know, create crowded space so ball can move out and so on. When I moved to Germany, then there was like completely strict. So you do what coach tells you, and if coach is creative, you become creative. If coach is conservative, you go conservative. When I got into the US, it was completely run and gun. So who has the ball goes to the court. And for examples, for different leadership styles. Now, when you come to the company, sometimes I have to pull the hat. Okay, you are all fired, just so they will wake up. Sometimes I'm just like chill. Hey, I'm mistaken this. Like today, campaign was sent completely wrongly, and I was receiving the message. Hey, what do you think about this? Oh, we should not launch it. Tomorrow we will have a meeting, discuss the new offer. Oh, I'm sorry. No, don't be sorry. It's not big deal. And that's the thing. You really have to work with people. You really have to understand. And one of the things that I love, and the only corporation I admire to, is Blackstone. Steve Schwarzman is having every year roundtable with 100 small business CEOs or owners and stuff. And it is amazing how that company is run. Like that's, in my opinion, the best company to work at. I do read this like Google and desired companies and everything, but if I will be like way back to start my career, that would be my aim. What they are doing is that they have the meetings with entire vertical, and they're like very huge, and they're really trying to win every deal collectively, like the entire Blackstone, not as a department. Okay, due diligence in research. Okay, the research team won, or the deal team won, or I don't know, the negotiating team won, and so on and so on. And that's something that creates huge difference in terms of businesses, like businesses as an assets. I don't think about this too much, or if at all, to be honest, because once we acquire business, everyone is replaceable. So if people want to play the game of being the theme, not the bench, that's awesome. If they don't want to, then I'm sorry. I have vision and vision that is fulfilled with goals. I hope this answers. Sorry again for the long answer.
No, that's very helpful. I just want to do one little house cleaning. Please, everybody, uh, follow myself, follow Tim, follow Shannon, follow all of the speakers here, follow each other, get to know each other. Please go to my account, join my newsletter. it's gonna. I transcribe the spaces, and I'm getting things condensed. My first newsletter wasn't that focused, but I'm getting more focused on what the newsletters are going to be. It's going to be part of this community. It is a community. There's a lot going on outside of the space as well as inside of the space, and it behooves you to grab the mic, especially if you are involved in AI in any way. If you're a developer, if you are a creator, an investor, what have you, this is the right space for you. So please do that. Grab the newsletter, like myself, like other people, follow other people, and share the space if you can. And so, sorry to get to that. Tim, please, what would you like to add to the conversation?
Yeah, so great conversations. I hope Sannon's points and like even just many people's points here, Andy earlier and yourself, John, like I hope it's not lost to people. I hope everyone got something out of it, you know, because all these people, like they speak from real world experience. So with that being said, literally I'm out, it's very good weather, I'm out walking, I have like 8% battery left, so I'll try to quickly go through everything that I wanted to talk about, as well as what Sannon talked about. So John, like when you said, you know, in terms of investability and just like if you have to go down that path of approaching private equity, whether it be angel investors, VCs, PEs, or SWFs, sovereign wealth funds, like there are certain things that are fundamentally true no matter what industry you operate in. I don't care if you're selling shoes, software, books, and movies in no particular order. Industry agnostic. There are certain things that are just universally fundamental truths, right? And it starts on that very basis of exactly what Sannon said, which is, does it make money? Does it make sense? Okay, well, maybe you don't have the book yet. Maybe you don't have that software yet. Maybe you're building towards it, right? And this is a very real problem, specifically in regards to like deep tech, right? Where it's like orders of magnitude more expensive to build MVP than software, because you're building a robot, you're building a rocket to the moon, let's say, right? Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, Tim, we can
I
still
can
hear
hear
you.
you.
Yeah, we can
Oh,
hear you.
okay.
Keep on going.
All right. Looks like my phone is now on battery mode, so like I literally can't see everyone. My screen is black. So my point is like, yes, there are like it's so time is short. So my point to add to Sannon's is like no one that operates a successful business operates as a lone wolf at scale. Of course, you know, someone can be like a solopreneur and like operating a barbershop or something like that. However, if you want to build anything at scale, it takes a team. And so I think another point that Sannon said that we were talking about earlier and a couple of days ago is like there's in crisis there's opportunity, right? And so something I posted it on the chat below is like it depends on how you look at it, right? Like the chat, there's an infographic that says opportunity is nowhere, right? It's just one like word letter cluster, but if you read it differently, you look at it differently, it'll read opportunity is now here, right? And so maybe it's not it goes back to many of my earlier conversations in previous spaces, is like it's about alignment of between co-founders, alignment between co-founders and customers, like startup and customers, alignment between co-founders and employees, alignment between co-founders and contractors, etc., etc. So to the degree that a business can get alignment in all these permutations and combinations, to that degree, the business can be successful. Literally, I have 3% battery left, so I can't see anyone. I'm speaking to a black screen right now.
It sounds perfect. If you want to close up on that, you're doing great.
Okay. Yeah, no, like I think these are good conversations because fundamentally, like we're trying to create value here. At the end of the day, what is value? Value is providing maximum utility, or you could say maximum usefulness to the end client, right? And to the end user. and and if you're providing like a entirely new product, then you're also providing like maximum delight, and ideally both, right? You want to create something that's like not just usable, but also like user friendly. That's basically all I have to say with 1% battery left.
Thank you, Tim. That's you're always bringing a lot of really helpful information. We are at 2:03 here on the West Coast, and I think we're gonna close up now. If there's anybody who really wants to grab the mic and share, please let me know. I really want to thank Sanin and Tim and everyone else who spoke today. Is April 1st, so we had a little bit of fun talking about the parallel universes, and I hope William takes the advice that was given to him, that he goes out and really pushes himself a little bit. It's what was on Joe Rogan's show, he's talking about the muscle, that if you do things you don't like to do, it gets stronger and stronger, and you're able to do more. The more you do, the more you can do. And so I think that's super important. And yeah, getting back to square one about the being the prime directive of your own parallel universe, and you're the hero of that journey, and everything else is kind of directed towards you. I think that we hopefully all can experience that, especially on April Fools, because the world is a little absurd and a little crazy and a lot of fun. And you can't take it how can anybody take all of this too seriously? To me, it just seems like the craziest thing ever. It contradicts itself. It contradicts itself forever. And my mom is not with us anymore, and I miss my mom today. And she would tell me, somebody's making a little bit of noise here, but I guess, oh, that's Tim. She would tell me that she would miss her parents, and I didn't quite understand it because I was younger and just concerned about myself, and didn't really realize the value and the weight that my mom had in this world, because she was a wonderful person and really was the center of my world in a lot of ways. But yeah, I mean, it does, life is they say, Mercury. I don't know who's into the gods, but supposedly that's why everyone freaks out with Mercury retrograde, because Mercury's a bit of a trickster. But yeah, this world's a bit of a trickster, but it really, it reflects back on what you give it, And so if you it pretty much, if somebody says that the world is some unpleasant thing, pretty much you can assume that that's what they are. That's what I've found, and I've been there, so I know it. I mean, come on, let's give me a break a little bit here too. But again, I really would love to see some more people signing up to my newsletter. I'm going to try to send out some positive vibrations and love every time you get the newsletter, and a lot of information that's actionable. And we are going to continue to bring the AI Biz Hour with Andy and John to you every Monday through Friday. If you feel like I bring any value, which of course I know I do, because I'm a valuable kind of guy, you could go to my account and buy me a cup of coffee, or buy me some lunch, who knows, what have you. It's kind of a gauge just to see what I'm providing for the room and who's here. And it's nice to see people that come back here again and again and again. It's great to see Zoo. I got to say again, Zoo and Sanin had amazing space yesterday, and today they had another great space. I would highly recommend you follow both of them. Put on the alert so whenever they're having a space, you check it out. Especially if you are involved in business in any way, you're going to get yourself a current education of what's currently really going on. And and the other thing about what they bring to the table is that this is not a local market anymore. In most things, it's a global market. Of course, you have your local businesses, your dentists and your lawyers and what have you, but through me hanging out with this crowd, I'm starting to look at things with a different perspective, And I think that that's one thing that this acceleration phase that we're getting into in humanity, with we're having changes in science and changes in the social structure, and we're having changes in all types of things, you know, at an accelerated pace. So you might want to open your mind up, and I think everybody here does. I'm kind of speaking to the choir right now about being open to looking at the world in a different way. Because my goodness, if you always looked at if you were always sure that you were right, and trust me, for a long time I thought I knew what was going on. It's really a less interesting place. But when you're, you know, really can listen and you're focused and you realize that you have a limited perspective of the world, and then you can hear from other people, it really opens it up to yourself, to this wild world. Because in a way, we all have, you know, everyone who's listening to me right now, you have your universe, your world, the way you see it, the way you know it. And, you know, it could be on another planet for all we know, from each of every other one of us, which is kind of an interesting thing. But now I'm getting a little long-winded here, and so I'm starting to lose you all. I can feel it. So I don't want to do that. So we'll be here tomorrow, same time, same place, same station. So happy to see you all. It's such a pleasure, such an honor that you're here. And thank you. This space is only as good as the people that show up. And please, next time that you're here, grab the mic and share with us your vision and how you are aligned with your vision. And maybe people will come along and join you, and you will be the magnet in the center of your cosmos.